say the kasala wey Naija police unit, the one wey dem call SARS, that na special anti-robbery squad, wey dem don come give better name now wey dem call SWAT, say this one the wahala too plenty. And na im make one of we own, Sergeant Bassy Osagie, wey be police for Toronto, do better talk follow DELE MOMODU on top interview, say how SARS matter be for Naija no be so e suppose be. Make we hear wetin Osagie get to talk on top Naija police unit and the police unit, the one wey dey Canada.
Hello, Sergeant. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. My sister, Mrs. Ogumbi, how are you? Yes, it's good to see you all the way from Toronto, Canada.
Yes, sir.
I saw your post yesterday and your support for the ongoing protest in your first country, Nigeria. Yes, I know you are an officer in Canada, but everyone is still worried about what is going on in Nigeria. Could you kindly introduce yourself to my viewers?
Well, my name is Bassy Osagie. I'm originally from Nigeria. I attended York University here in Canada, and I have a business degree. Following that, I joined the Toronto Police in 1998, first as a court officer for 2 years. Then in 2000, I became a police officer. I've worked in various units. I moved on from fourth class constable to first class. I did various squads as a detective constable, and I became a sergeant in 2011. I did a sergeant job, did detective job. I was also working our elite homicide squad. I have worked with our guns and gangs violence, the equivalence of SARS in Nigeria. And I've been a road sergeant, been an acting staff sergeant, and have been in charge of our youth program in Canada, in Toronto, and currently just leading a platoon of officers who go out on the road and responding to 911 calls.
So, will you be able to compare the facilities available to you in Canada to what you have back home? Have you ever had time?
I'll tell you, Chief, that there's no basic for comparison. Like the salary, I'll start with the salary. A constable here make an average of about 100,000 a year.
Dollars.
Dollars a year. A constable a year.
Canadian.
Canadian dollars. Average $100,000 a year. In addition to that, you get the health benefit. Like we get massage, you got dental, you have a physiotherapy, and then if something, God forbid, something happen while you're on duty, your family get close to about $1 million. And when you retire, you get about 60% of your annual pay. And the funny thing, I was talking about it last night, if you happen to pass away, something happened, your wife will continue to, and your family will continue to get 50% of your retirement benefit, unless if she remarry. If she marries somebody else, then the benefits stop. So in addition to that, which is more important, in Nigeria, police officers pay for their uniform. They sew their uniform. For our Toronto police, you have a store unit where you go at the beginning of the year. There's no big deal. You go with a paper signed by your sergeant, and that paper entitles you to 5 shirts, like the one I'm wearing now. You get 5 of this, 2 or 3 long sleeve shirt, and the other one short sleeve, depending on your choice. You get a police shoe, and then every 2 years you get a winter boot, like you use. Then you get a hat. You can get different kind of hat. You got this winter hat. Then you got the forest cap, and you get the baseball cap. And so those are given to you, like you don't have to. So there's no basis for comparison. Then another thing, every policeman once you get hired, you got your own pistol. You're giving your own gun. It's yours. You take it home if you want. You can keep it at the station, but you got to let your supervisor know that you are taking it. And Obviously, facilities. We have gym. This might be minor, but it helps with your morale. What I find with the Nigerian police is that because everybody blames the police, but these guys are poorly paid. They don't. I believe that a minimum salary for a constable in Nigeria should be a minimum of about $100,000. No, 100,000 naira. So it should be at least minimum. Constable should be minimum $100,000 naira. Sorry, 100,000 naira minimum for a constable. Because when you hear a sergeant, I watched a video yesterday, but sergeant getting paid 53,000 naira. When you take out transportation back and forth, the sergeant is left with nothing. And then the sergeant, they have people say, well, that doesn't mean you should be corrupt. Of course, it means you will be corrupt because you won't be able to survive on 53,000 naira. So that is the first thing to do. Not only that, it's also boost your morale. Like my status, my job right now, I'm getting overpaid, way over $100,000. That also gives you some confidence. If you get stopped by politician, I get paid more than the local politician, more than the councillors, or the mayor probably make around about the same like me. So that also boosts your confidence when you talk to people. So that means that you can't be bribed. That means that somebody cannot just come to you and say, oh, I insult you, because you know your worth. You know what you are worth. That's what they teach at the police college. They'll tell you, look, we have about 1,000 people that apply for this job. 20 of you got the job. So that means you're special. They ingrain in your head that you're a policeman, you are special. Because you know why? Police is supposed to have a lot of discretionary power. You're supposed to have a lot of discretionary power. Because you're supposed to be able to look at a situation and say, you know what, I will do this, I will do that, without interference. Someone will tell you that, I can tell you that if I decide that the mayor have done something wrong, okay, yeah, so that is how we do business here.
Okay, now the main reason why Nigerians are angry is that our police have been extremely vicious. We're not saying they don't have problems. We all sympathize with them for having problems. But must that then remove their humanity?
Well, the thing is this. If you end SARS, right? And then, yeah, what with SARS was doing was completely wrong. I used to work in a specialized unit like SARS in here. What SARS was created with good intention. But what it is supposed to do, you're a SARS officer, supposed to be an undercover officer, right? You investigate in the background. Even when we used to do that, once you find a group of people that are involved in criminalities, right? Then you follow them. And then you call a uniform officer to stop them. Not you. SARS is not supposed to be doing that if you're a specialized unit. Because we are very proud of what we have in the specialized unit. So then the uniform guys stop them, get all the information, and then pass it on to SARS, who is sitting behind on the cover car watching, right? The only time SARS officer is supposed to come out is what we call takedown. Once we identify the individual that they are armed robbers or they are whatever they are, once we identify them, we plan, okay, those guys we're going to take down today. We're going to need uniform officer. That's when the time you say we block the car, block the SARS officer come out, that's when you're supposed to see them. Take out the bad guys, take them to the station, and they're out of your sight. You're not supposed, once a SARS officer reduces himself to checking your phone, to checking your laptop, that is just petty and disgraceful for any officer to stick to that minimum, because you're supposed to be in a prestigious unit. So I think you asked the question, should they make them immoral? Well, you have to also look at the police as a part of a larger Nigeria problem. The upbringing in Nigeria, I don't want to insult all of us. I was raised in Nigeria. We were raised very bad in some ways. Like you worship money, and somebody that doesn't have money, you look down on them. So when the officer is not well paid, it doesn't have a future. Know that if you get fired or anything, it's not really, there's nothing to gain. There's no gain from being a good officer, right? So when there's no gain for being a good officer, then you are left with no choice. Like if you see like a SARS guy driving a big car, typical Nigerian people will say, yeah, that guy is successful, and they praise him. The other guy that don't drive a big car is a bad person. So it doesn't justify for them to be immoral, but you have to look at it in the context of what kind of society is Nigeria. Over here in Toronto, it doesn't work like that. And I believe if we follow the steps, if we change the leadership of the police, or the current leadership, because the current leadership, they are incompetent. I know somebody will attack me and say, well, we have the smartest people in the world. Yeah, it might be true that they are smart. Being smart and being a smart policeman a woman is different. Even if you're smart and you work in the bad system for 20 years, there's no way you can be a good policeman. If you are not used to a good structure, a good system, you can't be a good policeman. Police work and being intelligent is two different things. I know in Nigeria, everybody want to be expert in everything. See, I see some people on TV, security expert. I'm like, security expert, you don't have the background to security. You probably did one course in Harvard. And they come on TV and they're talking. I watch a lot of Nigerian TV channels and all that stuff. People come, I guess, sometimes irritating. So we need to check the leadership. Leadership is bad. And the selection of the IG. Selection of the IG shouldn't just be, oh, he's next in rank. Or, oh, he's from my place. Because what I know is when there's a northern president, all the IGs are from the north. When there's a southern president, you can't do that. The IG position should be competitive. It shouldn't just be, okay, buddy, you are the DIG, you are next. No, it should be, position should be put out. People, whether you're a superintendent or you are a commissioner, everybody should apply. And we pick the best guy. When we pick the guy that's more competent, we pick him, we give him a time. Give him like 4 years. Because the way they have it now, you have the IG now. I don't know him well. I don't know his qualifications. So I'm not speaking about him. So the IG, the way it currently stand, if the president sneezes, he say bless you from his office. If you got a competent IG and you put him for like 4 years and say, and before you hire him, he tell you his blueprint. What are you going to do for us? As Inspector General Police. Then he give you the interview. Then you are hiring based on that. And he also know if he deviate from that, you're going to fire him. So he'll be fired on the basis of him not doing what he promised to do. And he'll be well articulated. So then you talk about recruitment. How do you recruit Nigerian police? I'm talking about the inhuman. Like you have to look at it in the broader perspectives. You're talking about the recruitment. How do you recruit police officers in Nigeria? You recruit, people pay 100,000, 200,000 to get hired, right? Or you have to know the Oba, like I'm from Benin. You have to know the Oba of Benin or some chief who will send your name to them. If you're a regular poor guy, you only will become a police officer, you have to bribe somebody. Wow. But that's wrong. That's wrong. The first thing we do when we recruit police officer here, first question we ask you before we even talk about your interview is, why do you want to become a police officer? Then what have you done to prepare yourself to become a police officer? If you tell me you want to become a police officer, you never volunteer in your community, you never try to do some security job, you never do any of that, I'm not going to hire you because you have not prepared yourself for the job. Then once we start in the background check, I remember when I got hired, you go to your neighbors, check with your neighbors, what kind of guy is he? Check with the school. What kind of school? What kind of student was he? What kind of people do you hang out with? Do you have family friends? So you have to look at that. So those things are not being done right now. So that's the problem. Then when they get hired, training. How do you train police officers? The SARS officer, how were they trained? Who trained them? Again, people will tell you, we have so many smart Nigerians, they train them. I don't see them in the police force. Who trained them? Where did they get the training from? When there's a training in Canada, then they send commissioner commissioner is not the one going to do the job. Chief, the thing is this. Even Nigerian police can get free training from the Toronto Police Service. I'm telling you that right now, and you can quote me on it. But they are not willing to reach out because they think they are the best, or the leadership is not going to benefit financially from it. So they are not going to do it. So if I sit here and say, I can tell you right now, you can give my number to any of the leadership. You say, how many do you want to bring to train? I can tell you, okay, bring 10 SARS officers. We train them, they go back and become the leader. You don't pay for the training. I can find Nigerians who will accommodate them for free. While we set up the training. So that is the thing. So you can, in policing, we said you pay for the kind of police you want. You pay for what you want. If you don't want to pay for the kind of police you want, then you get what you pay for. If you pay a guy 40,000 to protect you, you're gonna get 40,000. Another aspect I want to touch before you guys, I go back, let you ask me for the question. It touches. We have it's estimated we have about 370,000 police officers in Nigeria. How many of them are available for the people? I can tell maybe not to 100,000. So the big men got protected. Then what are the other guys? So there's some police officers they be assigned to some big man, not even like official government, just some maybe 419 guy who make money. He's been assigned 4 policemen. 4 policemen been with him for 4 years. How do you rehabilitate that kind of police officer? Impossible. You're gonna have to fire him. So for me, in the short term, change of leadership. Say commissioner up. If I was the IG, you make a new IG. Anybody commissioner up, I look at your file, your qualification, your job, and I talk to you. If you sound shady, you're out. Then you start with that. Then you go to the lower guys. You go to the lower guys now from say deputy commissioner of police. But the ranking is too much and too weird. You get acting commissioner of police, deputy commissioner of police, commissioner. Like, who does that? That was like in the old days. Nobody does that anymore. So that is so, it make everything so complicated, right? So you get rid of the leadership and you change it. Then the lower one, Nigeria has so many graduates, right? Why are you employing people that cannot read and write? You can fire the entire lower leadership. I'm talking about deputy commissioner down. You can fire the entire, sack all of them. Get a new police force and get like army to protect the country for like 6-7 months. You can get anyone that have been in the youth service for the past 5 years. You can call them, train them for like 6 months. And then new orientation. You're taking the SARS guys who used to making 100,000 a day back to the other police force. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. It's not going to work. So the next thing is they need to decentralize the police. I'm not saying because people don't trust the governor, they're going to abuse it for their elections and all that, but the federal also abuse it. So you can't use that as justification. But what immediate need to happen, once you change the leadership, you decentralize responsibility. The IG have too much power. The IG, I can tell you, because I know some of the leadership, the IG doesn't have time to talk to the commissioner of police in those states. So he's not able to really know what's going on there. So what need to do is to give more power to that commissioner, to work with the governor. Let them have some form of autonomous power to police, because crime is localized. You can't send a guy in Abuja to go to Benin and he knows commissioner got some more autonomous power to police their own state. But if the governor or the commissioner go rogue, then you can, it's easy. Then you can then send.
Wow.
You can then replace him and then send somebody else to do the job. That's one. That's a very important. I never used my phone before.
Yeah, I knew.
So that's one. Yeah, I'm trying to do. I don't know how to. Yeah. So you can't have one guy from Abuja sit down in his comfort home and then he get a call from Benin and he's acting on impulse to control a situation he had nothing to do about. So we have to localize it and put it in control. But the federal can oversee it, obviously, and then appoint a commissioner who's from that state.
Mm. He knows the local.
Who understand the local content. For me, you and even the training, you cannot train all the police officers in Ikeja and then they go to River State and be policemen. So if you're going to hire people in to police in River State, you train them in River State and they stay there. Because when you move them around, they go to new, they don't know. Not only that, they don't have interest. They don't. There's no. They say police are the community are the police. Wow. So when you go to a community where you don't know the people, there's no interest, right? So you're not going to have that zeal to protect them. So those are the some of the things. Then I think the president, the increase in pay should be immediate. That should be part. That should not be even discussed. It should be announced. That's immediate. Like nothing less than 100,000 naira a month. That should be announced right away. And then maybe further increase in the years to come. Because you can't justify a senator making millions. And the guy that's protecting them is making less. It doesn't happen here. Politicians don't make more money than me unless they were rich. Those are some of the things I can think about right now. And then sorry, Chief, one more. You need a civilian oversight on the police. When somebody complained that a SARS officer took away their phone, there should be an independent body where that citizen can go and say, look, I have his badge, I have his name, this is what he did to me. Let that independent body investigate. And then let them hold police accountable. For us, we have what we call SIU. If a policeman shoots somebody, then a guy like me, a senior guy, we make a decision if it's a serious bodily harm to a citizen. I'll call up the SIU and say, look, this is what happened. They will invoke their mandate. They come to the scene and take it over and investigate. And we make a decision whether the officer will be charged or not. That body have no connection with Toronto police. That is how you hold police accountable. In addition to when you pay them good money, they'll be afraid to lose the job. And then you also hold them accountable that way. If you were paying us here about $30,000 a year, trust me, people will be corrupt too. So,
fantastic. Now, there is something that has always been very controversial in Nigeria: community policing. Practically all our leaders have opposed it, and you've touched on it now. Don't you think that is the main reason why we are failing as a nation? When you bring a complete, poorly paid, religious bigots,
yes,
ethnic jingoists,
yes, that is, yeah,
and you take them to a location where they have no, won't they be trigger happy? Won't it be easier to shoot a complete stranger than to shoot your own family?
Well, it is a big topic because I am a community policing expert. I used to head the Toronto police aspect of the community policing, and I was in charge of so many of that aspect of it. So I know community policing very well. Yes, the concept of community policing, even when I talk to senior Nigerian police officer, chief, is they don't even know what is community policing. The kind of community policing they are trying to introduce in Nigeria is not sustainable. The way they try to do it, my understanding, they will say, oh, let vigilante, or let's give power to the people, let's do that. Those are all confusing part of community policing. Community policing is when you form a partnership, when police form a partnership with the community, a collaboration between the people and the police. It's not like in Nigeria they have a separate, oh, these are community. Like they are so, the leadership are so incompetent that they don't even understand what community policing means. Let me just tell you how we do it here. So that way you can, your viewers can compare for themselves. Every police division have a community policing unit. We call it community policing unit. And every division, we have about 20 to 30 officers who are community policing officers. These officers go out in the community and work with the community. I used to be one of them. So we go, like I said, crime is localized. So someone will call you and say, okay, in the back of this building, there is people drinking beer or shooting or drugs and all that. The community policing unit in that division will get it. What we do, we decide how we meet with the local community. Okay, how is it happening? How are we going to solve the problem? Then we decide, okay, we're going to send some undercover to catch those guys. So then we solve the problem with the community. Because the job of the community policing officer is to improve the welfare and well-being of the people in the community. That's all you do. So, like what you said, you're not going to bring. I know Nigeria tribe is very controversial, so I'm not trying to make it controversial here. You can't bring a guy from, say, Kano to be a police officer in Benin City, where he doesn't understand the culture. If he's going to meet with the palace or he's going to meet with the Ojonwere, it's different for them. In Benin, we are very traditional, right? So people, the chief, the Ojonwere, the senior people, we hold them in high esteem. So he doesn't know that if there's something going on in the community, you're supposed to go to the Ojonwere. Ojonwere, the causes that the village women will place on who is committing crime is more serious than whatever thing police try to do. They don't understand that. But the local guy will know that, right? Like the election in Benin the other day. In the old days, the Oba will go out with the market women naked and make a call on whoever commits crime. So yeah, that is not sustainable. The way they do. So community policing is supposed to be where the police work in collaboration with the community, and then you have to understand why police came to be. Police started in England by Robert Peel, where you have people, they choose people to help them police their community, right? But over time, when the industrialization came, they decided, look, we got to pay some people in our community to help us police it. That's how they started paying them, and they became part of the community. So you can't lose that sense, and you cannot have people who doesn't understand Robert Peel principle of policing to be in charge of your police department, because they're going to screw it up. That's how the Nigerian police over the years have screwed up our community, have screwed up our people, to the point our people have no faith in them, have no trust in them. So to bring it back, like I said, President, change of leadership, increase pay, decentralization, immediate. And then we talk about the long term. The long term will not be okay. We need to change how we recruit people. We need to pay them more. You need to give them benefits. So you need to do all that stuff in order for you to have it. So community policing, the way they have it, is how they're going to make money. They make a big budget, have a commissioner of community policing. I say you don't need to change anything. Go to, I'm proud of Benin, I'm from Benin, so I always make reference to Benin. So you go to Esige police station, right? You say, okay, how many of you guys? 10 of you are going to be my community police officer. So those people, they will go and meet with the market women. They meet with the bricklayer. They meet with the mechanic and say, what is the common problem in this community? They'll tell you. And then you and the community now drop a plan on how to solve this problem. The plan has to be acceptable to the community, otherwise it's not going to work. You cannot impose your policing strategy on your people. Your people have to have the buy-in, and they have to support you. Once your people lose faith in you, then you are no longer a police service.
Okay. Now, I want us to talk about weaponry. You were talking about holding your pistols. And don't you feel scandalized that the ordinary police carry AK-47 all over the place? They even carry it into churches. They carry it into mosques. Do you believe our weapons, one, let's say we are over weaponized? Do you believe we are over weaponized? That's number one. Because the police is supposed to be civil. They are not the army. Okay? They are supposed to meet regularly with the people on the street. That's number one. Number two, when I was a presidential candidate, I discovered something. They allocated some bodyguards to me. And when we want to pick them up, let's say we are traveling and we want to pick them up, they will say, oh, the man in charge of the weaponry has not allocated weapons. And the man became so important that even the police have to bribe him to be able to get enough guns and enough bullets. How do we deal with all this?
Okay, like I said, it's a larger problem. It's because the people have not invested in their police, the government. In the issue of carrying weapons, we got more weapon than the Nigerian police, but we don't carry it out. Like you see, there's my car, you can't see it. There's a button here that have C8. C8 is more powerful than AK-47, but we have it in the police car. We never take it out. There's accountability there. In our system, there's a law within the police that once you take out your gun and you point it out in the open, you have to complete a report every time you take out your gun, unless it's holster. So most of those weapons are not even good anyway. A lot of them, maybe 5 of them at the junction. Maybe only one of the AK-47 works. It's all intimidation, poor training, and poor orientation. That's why they do all that. For us, in terms of security, remember, we don't provide security for private individuals. So we don't go to the armory and do that. Those are so like colonial and backward way of thinking. There's no armory. Every policeman have his own pistol. And then we have our AK, we don't use AK, we use more sophisticated C8 that the Canadian military use and all that. We have them at the station. When an officer is going out, all you have to do is scan the gun, scan his badge, he shows that he's taking the gun out, and he's gone. We don't like come on, like in Nigeria, the sergeant have to assign you a gun. Those are all pre-colonial and primitive way of doing things. That's a larger problem, right? So that doesn't come into it. And here we don't privately, but you can hire a police officer to an event or to protect a place. We call it pay duty. In Toronto, currently about a constable, if you hire a constable to police an event, you got to pay him about $80 an hour. So that's another thing. If you do that in Nigeria, that will put more money in the police pocket. That will give them the confidence that you need. But in Nigeria, you don't do that. You have to pay the DPO to take the officers out. But if they space it out to show for the officers to also make money on their own, then officers will make more money. But the problem is that more reform is needed. When you go to Nigeria, what are the schedule of the officer? How, like you say, officer may be off 1 day in a week. That is so pre-colonial, like thing. Like us, like we have different shift. Some shift you work 7 days, you're out 5 days. It's a stressful job. You need to rest. Or you work 4 days, you're out for 5 days. You work 5 days, you're out for 4 days. So the 4 days you can choose to work overtime or stay home with your family. So I hope I answered the two questions that you.
Fantastic. My next question, you don't have to answer if it will get you into trouble, but it's a question that is so practical that I must ask it.
Okay.
If you cannot answer it. Between the Inspector General of Police and the president of Nigeria today, who do you think is more culpable between the two of them? Because we all know that the Inspector General of Police takes orders from the president and he can hardly breathe without intervention from the top. If you were to fire one of the two or both of them, who would you fire first?
Well, what I would do, what I would plan to do is you can't fire the president because he was elected.
I know.
Yeah. Whether that's I'm answering. Yeah. So whether you can't fire him because he was elected. Whether the process was free and fair, that's up to the Nigerian people to decide. And the people can, whoever is the president is not really too. It's critical. It's not really too much because the president is supposed to have good people around them.
That's it.
So it's not really a big deal who's the president. Yeah, Buhari don't necessarily have to be an expert in policing, but he have to hire an expert in policing to be your Inspector General of Police. So, going back to your question, I believe the Inspector General of Police, I don't know his qualification. I never really read anything about him, but the way they are handling the issue, I would say the leadership are incompetent and they need to change. Because if you don't change it and you put the SARS back into circulation and you said, okay, we're going to pay the 100,000, it's not going to work. Because the guy that you have there, this leadership have been corrupt for 30, 20 years. Chief, how are you going to change a guy who used to collecting 50 million from share so they can provide them security? How are you going to change a guy who's making money from the governor? Because the governor doesn't cough out some money, you're going to deny him some security, right? So how are you going to change a guy who's milking the oil drilling thing? How are you going to change those guys? A lot of those guys are multi-millionaires. How are you going to change them to become a policeman? Policeman is not just a job, it's a way of life. If you don't accept that way of life, then you shouldn't be a policeman. And once you accept the way of life, that means you gotta have integrity. To trust you. I hope I'm not being diplomatic about it. I don't. I think that it's a poor leadership.
Wow, interesting. Now let's talk about. You mentioned the issue of titles. Do you also think we have too many titles in Nigeria? ASP.
Title in sense of what?
ESP.
Oh yeah. That is colonial. Let me tell you our ranking system here. Then you can then see. Here you start as a 4th class constable. From 4th class you move 3rd. Those are almost automatic unless you really screw up. Then you become a 1st class constable. Then the first promotion you will get is sergeant. Sergeant is in charge of the road. Every police officer out here today, when you are the road sergeant, you're in charge of them.